welcome back to the show. You heard me talk about it in the big story. Now let's get the thoughts of, one expert and one guy that wishes he was an expert. How's that? There you go. David Aardsma is the expert.
I don't even know which one I am.
No, come on. You know.
Yes, you do. We both know you wish you were an expert.
Exactly.
David Aardsma, still recovering from a weekend with the Greek. It's an inside joke. People will never understand.
Mykonos?
The Greek, man. James the Greek. Who apparently could still bring it even all these years later. So, David Aardsma, former big league reliever and closer, hanging out with us. Everybody heard what I had to say about the World Baseball Classic. I mean, look, it's a disappointment for the U.S. There's no getting around it. But hats off to Venezuela. And I'm just going to sit back and watch Sam gloat, David defend USA baseball, and I'm just going to sit here and watch. So David, start with you. What did you make of what transpired here and how this whole thing ended?
Venezuela won that game. Great job. You have to give them the benefit of every discourse. We want to talk about Team USA at first and say, hey, they played an incredible baseball game. They've done an incredible job throughout the whole WBC, especially on the pitching side. That bullpen side kept them into every single ball game. And give them the credit. They went through in my opinion, the two of the three best teams in the WBC in Japan and the United States. And if you beat those two teams, doesn't matter what those other two teams are going through, you win it, buddy. Great job.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, David. I think that is perfectly put. They did. People are completely discounting because they did. They won a great game yesterday. They ran through a gauntlet to get here. Beating that Japan team took a couple of miracles, and they sure got them. That is an incredibly talented Venezuela team. David, there are two players I really want to hone in on the USA baseball team because you obviously have so much experience playing in the major leagues. You've been around dozens, hundreds of major leaguers in your life, maybe even thousands at this point. And there were some moments throughout this tournament as a whole, right? There were some moments that made you kind of ask some questions about different guys. The guy I want to start with, Cal Raleigh. Obviously, he's at the center of this entire debacle, not shaking hands with his teammates when they come up to bat when they're playing against each other. What do you make of Cal Raleigh, and what do you make of him kind of poo-pooing his relationship with guys who he just went to the ALCS with?
I think he was trying to be Mr. USA. That's it. He was trying to bring the energy that we're complaining now that the United States didn't have, that they didn't have a chip on their shoulder, that they didn't have that means more to them. He was trying to bring that, even though in a friendly way and trying to have fun, and his teammates didn't take it bad. They were trying to rile him up. I guarantee you, the second time, they were trying to rile him. They went purposely there to see if he would do it. But he was trying to be USA versus the world, which is, I'm not friendly, give you knucks at the beginning of the game, and then we complain about it. We want that, and then complain when he does it. Then we say, oh, he's selfish, oh, he's not a teammate, oh, all this stuff. That was what we were asking for, and that's what we're now complaining about. The United States not having enough little oomph, and then we complain about it. We'd bitch and moan when you get what you asked for. If they would have all had that chip on their shoulder and won it all, yes, they meant more to them. But then all of a sudden they don't get that, and then we're complaining, and then we're complaining about the Dominican or Venezuela having way more energy and way more into it than us. Which one do you want? The bigger problem, the bigger thing to me is that Cal Raleigh wasn't playing. Cal Raleigh, the number 2 in the MVP, and in my heart, number 1 in the MVP, wasn't catching the important game. Nothing against Smith, nothing against him. He's done an incredible job, World Series champion multiple times over now. Give me the MVP, dude. Give me the guy. And if you're going to die on the sword with your best back there.
Yeah, I guess the one thing I'll just push back on a little bit is I don't think that that's necessarily what we, the fans, wanted when we say we want to see passion. And I do think, David, that this is a confusion that happened across the USA baseball team. And there, a few different examples you can go down the line of this like warhood mentality that the USA team was bringing to this entire tournament as a whole that didn't really make sense. They were kind of cosplaying as like the National Guard or something. I didn't really get it. But I think what we did want, right, as the fans was what we saw in other knockout games, right, which was, two guys from different teams from different countries can go up and give each other a hug before they play an incredible baseball game against each other. The other player on this USA team I wanted to ask you about is one that you and I have talked about almost ad nauseum since before the tournament started. It's Tarek Skubal. A really, really, I mean, let's not sugarcoat it, is a tough moment for him yesterday. Not a great look for him. The team loses. He doesn't pitch in the game after not only pitching in just one game, a very meaningless pool play game for the USA, but also then teasing us and saying, well, I might come back. I might pitch in the knockout stage, and then not doing that. And then yesterday, the U.S. loses a game he doesn't start, and because he doesn't start, the U.S. is forced to put a rookie in to start. And then after the game, again, the U.S. loses, Tarek Skubal is in full uniform, not a hoodie, nothing like that. Full uniform, full button-up, belt, everything, getting a silver medal in line with all of the other guys. What did you make of the roller coaster that was Tarek Skubal barely pitching in this tournament and then lining up with the rest of his teammates, being in person to accept a silver medal in full uniform?
Don't mind in full uniform. I have no problem with it. You're on the roster. That's just what you do. It's a weird thing to not be in full uniform if you're on the team. That's just, from a ball player, like, you're still there. You're still on, even if you're not playing. You're still. Cal Raleigh was in full uniform and he didn't play. So you're still there. You're on the roster. We're making more of a deal out of it. The problem is the teaser. You made a decision. You made a decision before this, along with your team, that you were going to pitch one game. Just own it. Own it and pitch one game. And now I hope he realizes how much more important it is, and that you can pitch two games. If we get in 3 years, Tarek Skubal coming out and pitching multiple games, we all win. We all look at this and don't think anything about it. The issue, the bigger issue, I know we're going to hit this at some point, is a disconnection between, is it more important than the World Series? Is it more important than the Olympics? Is it the where are we standing? Because every other team is a united conversation. That representing your team means more than anything. We need to get that connection, and that starts from the top down, and it starts from the leader down.
David Aardsma is going to hang out for one more segment. We continue the conversation with him on the World Baseball Classic. Coming out of this WBC, a whole bunch more. Don't go anywhere. The baseball conversation continues with David Aardsma, former big league reliever and closer, our Sports Wrap baseball analyst. You mentioned it. The passion. So I'll kind of piggyback off what you were talking about at the end of the segment. How this all moves forward with the Olympics. The bottom line is this whole thing, when we get a week away from it, I don't know how much people are going to be talking about because we'll be getting into spring training and the start of regular season games, but all of this should be a net positive for baseball.
It should be an all net positive. I loved it. The ratings are going through the roof.
Yeah.
The energy throughout the whole series, and looking back at 2006 to now, it is incredible how they've grown this. And they've grown it to a point where we have to have real serious conversations about moving it in that mid-season area. And I think that should be a done deal. Do the pre-rounds before, during spring training, do the quarter
Full
semis
play.
and finals, right in the All-Star break. We saw hockey do it. And the energy on the first year ever doing that on an Olympic year, and that energy from that, and that carried over into the Olympics. We should be doing this without a doubt. I absolutely love everything about that. But yes, the discourse of, is it bigger than the World Series? Is it not? Every other team obviously is looking at this as bigger than the World Series. Or let's maybe change the conversation. Say whether it's bigger or not doesn't matter. It should matter for what it is. And that's I think that needs a conversation, needs a change. Is it might not be bigger than World Series, or it doesn't matter to us. It just is huge. And it should matter to be an American or to be a Dominican. I think there is a conversation that needs to be had, though, about Dominican energy, Puerto Rican energy, Venezuelan energy, and trying to create a conversation saying America's not into it because we're not showing the energy the same way. Watch the Caribbean World Series. Watch a Dominican game. Go down to Mexico and watch a Winter League game. But don't try to tell me that they're more into it just because they're jumping around and jumping and going crazy. There is a quiet confidence. There's American way to play the baseball game, and you're just as into it and just as focused and love the game the exact same way. Just show it different. And so we're trying to create this us versus them idea, like America wasn't into it. You know what? We were. Absolutely, they were into it. And they actually played really well. They just didn't hit as well as Venezuela. They beat the Dominican. The Dominicans jumping all over the field, going nuts every single play. They beat them. That's confidence. That's this. Well, then all of a sudden you give up a run in the 9th inning, and all of a sudden you don't have confidence, and your team sucks, and you're not into the baseball game. But watch Bryce Harper when they hit that home run. Watch the whole team. They were all on the field going crazy.
I didn't see now, but see, I watched that Bryce Harper home run, which, by the way, great moment for him. It was. That's a great moment.
That's right.
It was just very Bryce Harper to hit the quite literally most meaningful home run of his career, and 10 minutes later have his team completely erase all meaningfulness it had. It was just very Bryce Harper.
Hold on. Give up all run. Like you can only do so much.
I know. It's just it happens all the time with the Phillies, right? It happened when he was with the Nationals. It's a Bryce Harper thing. Every time he hits a clutch home run, the team around him just collapses.
But I bring it up from the context of it didn't feel like it was the same when Bryce Harper hit that home run. Yeah, guys were out of the dugout. They weren't standing around home plate going crazy. They were all just kind of standing.
You tell me, dude, watch Japan.
Look, it's hard to get inside people's heads. It's hard to get inside people's heads and understand what they're truly feeling versus what they're emoting. I'm just saying perception is often reality. And the perception of people who watch these games is that we were not into it as much as they were, that it just meant more.
It's a cultural thing. And it's a cultural thing. We're looking at this from our lens, and we're saying, wow, we're seeing jumping around the field and thinking that's more into it. That's a problem that is on our cultural side. Watch Japan, watch Korea, watch the Asian teams. You'll never see anybody jumping around. You'll never see anybody onto the field. It's disrespectful. You won't see that type of thing because it's a cultural difference. But then they win the championship. You're like, oh my God, they're so into it. But if USA would have won 3 years ago, we'd be like, oh my God, USA was so into it. And they weren't. They just didn't seem to have the same energy. It's a cultural, just watch those games. Watch the home run with Junior Caminero hit in the Caribbean series, and you're going to see a whole different baseball game than you'll ever see. But then watch him in the U.S. He acts different. Then you put him on the other uniform, they act different. It's a cultural difference. I love Pete Crow Armstrong said the same way. Like, don't get confused with them jumping around. If we did it, it wouldn't be honest and wouldn't be us because that's just not how we do it. We just go about the business. That's American baseball, man.
Sam, go ahead.
I think that, David, my question for you is rooted in how, right, because what you're saying, right, the how players act on the field, you're right, it is a cultural thing, but certainly what's not a cultural thing is fandom, right? See it as shining, see every corner of the globe, you root for a team, it's one same way, right? You get as loud as you can, you blow the roof off a place, and the simple fact of the matter is the Tokyo Dome is an electric atmosphere all the time, right? You're talking about NPB games, it's incredible during NPB games. You saw it during the WBC. You had American players like Sal Stewart, right, and Tommy Edman in the last World Baseball Classic, talking about what an incredible environment it is. You have the same thing here, right? And you're talking about it like you have in the Dominican Republic, like we had in Houston and Miami. And the fact of the matter is the USA played multiple games in the knockout stage, and they didn't play a single game where they had the fan advantage in the stadium. My question to you is, how do we as an American baseball culture improve our fandom to care more about these sports the way that countries who have 1/10th, 1/20th, 1/50th the population of America do?
I don't know if you'll ever find it. To be honest, I love it.
That's
love
disappointing.
it. And I love that energy and I love that excitement that around it, that when you show up. But there's a quiet confidence when you're on top. In any sport across the board, there's generally a quiet confidence when you're perceived as the best over years. We talk about the Dominican, talk about their energy. They've won once, right? Yeah, I get it. USA hasn't had that, but there's a idea that we are the best. And so when you generally do that across the board, you're a little bit more calm about this, and because you act like you've done it a little bit more. But we'll never have that energy. We'll never have it. So it's all right. Fall into who you are and just be so confident in that level that it doesn't matter how loud the stadium gets. It doesn't matter who's jumping off the field, off the everything. Just win the baseball game, and then that'll speak for itself. And I think we've always done that. I love that. But this falls into Bryce Harper. We talk about Bryce Harper. Make baseball fun again. This is it. That's like, we can start having a little bit more excitement, a little bit more bat flips, a little bit more fun, and be okay with it. And I do think we can turn it in that way a little bit.
David Aardsma, former big league reliever and closer, hanging out with us. We'll continue the conversation for a few minutes, and you'll be able to catch that on the YouTube channel in the Sports Wrap Spotlight. Always appreciate it, though, David. Thank you. Is there any carryover from any of this, though, into the baseball regular season? I don't think there is.
Absolutely.
Really?
There was 3 years ago.
But I mean, carryover, good, bad, certain players, that sort of thing. Really?
I think I would say this. Okay, there was a different feel in the USA team 3 years ago than there was this year. I think there was a little bit more of a camaraderie, a little bit more of at least one feeling of, all right, Team USA. But at that point, that was the year that this whole thing changed into, is it bigger than the World Series? That before 3 years ago, it wasn't bigger than the World Series. There was never a conversation about that. And I think when Trey Turner did what he did, and you saw how we played against, what was it, Puerto Rico, I believe, in the semifinal, and his huge moments, you started having that conversation of like, ratings spiked again, ratings had another big jump. And you said that's when the conversation goes to this year, and for the first time where we actually started saying, this is starting to be bigger. It's starting to mean more for USA too. Like, it would never meant anything like on this level until 3 years ago. And now we're starting to have some of these fun conversations. It's just, until all the players say, this means so much to me for the World Baseball Classic. Stop comparing it to the World Series and just say World Baseball Classic, because we don't have a conversation in soccer. I know we don't talk about it a whole lot, but there's no conversation about, is the World Cup bigger than the Euros? Like, they're both individually massive for their countries. They're individual. They're separate. They're different. When you're talking about European countries, they say, no, that's a different thing. Like, this is World Cup. You don't sit there.
Yeah, we're trying to pit. A lot of people are trying to pit the World Series against this, and because that's,
I don't like
because
that.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I don't like that either, because we don't do that with the Olympics and the NBA. We don't do that. I don't know why people feel the need to pit one versus the other, as if one is worse than the other. They're just different. So I agree with you in that regard. Sam looked like he was ready to jump out of his chair when you said something, though. So go ahead.
Yeah, Sam. David, I mean, well, you brought up some very important World Baseball Classic moments, right? Like ones that we think of from 2017, and the first WBC where it really felt like it meant more. You mentioned the Trey Turner incredible series. We had in that same 2017, we had the Javi Baez tag that everybody still, like yesterday, they were replaying on MLB Network. You had the insane Adam Jones catch to practically win the entire thing at the end of it. And I bring up that tournament to bring up the next one. Obviously, going into the next one, the U.S. is going to be staring down the barrel of a 12-year WBC drought. That you and I can agree, Jason can even agree, that should never happen to the United States of America in any world. Should they ever suffer a 12-year drought from winning the World Championships of baseball? My question to you is, how do they avoid that? What does the U.S. or USA Baseball as an organization, because they are an organization that is getting off scot-free somehow in all of this, how does USA Baseball reform over the next 3 years to win the next WBC, which at that point is going to be necessary?
Pick the team in 2 years. Pick the team.
Interesting.
Pick the team early, train in the offseason, workouts together, to go. You have to go. So these Dominican players playing in the United States go to winter ball. They're all together, playing together, doing this, creating this environment that they're riled up with all of us. The Puerto Ricans are doing it. Venezuelans are doing it. Japan, a lot of those players are there together. United States needs to pick this team early. Fine if you don't pick some of the, you pick the core pitchers early. You can relievers, nobody cares, and then things will change because of health and all this stuff. Pick the team early. Training camps together, off seasons together. You do events together. You go take them all golfing together. Go watch the Olympics together. Like go do something as a group.
Genius. That's genius.
Quiet or do a documentary behind the scenes, and then by the time you actually get to that real training camp, it means more. You do little things about this, like, hey, like, yeah, you don't even need to, you can let people know a little bit on the ground floor. Don't make a big deal out of it. Just little things that we're doing to make it matter as a group. And then you'll have real players come forward that are leaders. You find out, don't pick, and this is also say, Aaron Judge isn't the leader. Aaron Judge is the quiet leader. He's the one that just like, follow me and how I do my things. He's not the speak leader. He's not the guy out loud. Then you're going to find out who that real leader is within those moments. And then you elevate that person as the team leader. You let Aaron Judge be the leader by example, and somebody else is going to be the one that talks. And so Aaron Judge isn't the talker. You can't let that. Trout's not the talker. It's got to guarantee you, it's probably like the backup somebody behind the scenes that you have no idea is actually the talker behind the scenes, you know, like, but then you find those things out, and that's how you build up into a Goliath that actually is together. And if you lose, you lose. But at the very worst, you created a unit.
David Aardsma,
that is an incredible idea.
Let's make David Aardsma the head of USA Baseball. Let's go!
I love it. Also, like, why are people all of a sudden? I get it. Mark DeRosa screwed up in one instance. In one moment, he screwed up. And it was a huge screw up. But people all of a sudden are acting like he's this worst manager in history of baseball.
I've seen that.
Like, he brought in O'Neill. I'm sorry, but great call. I liked it. Like, as a team, there's nothing that's going to be more powerful than having somebody like that walk into your locker room. And we're like, oh, like it's about war. Okay, every single country, everybody's hero is about war. Get over it. You're just trying to divide everybody. Great call. I liked it. He might not manage the team next year. I hope he actually does because he's a good manager. He just screwed up in one thing, and then MLB tried to cover it up. Like he messed up.
The one thing you mean being the Clayton Kershaw thing?
What he messed up with Clayton Kershaw?
Wait, so
before he played
right, but I mean the seeding, the game with the seeding. That's what you're referring to.
The Italian game is the only thing this entire thing he messed up. He actually pulled the triggers correctly and everything. We pitched very well. We actually overall had the second most hits in the entire brackets. Like, and there was a lot of things when you got to the championship 2 times, plus you got the 2 most famous American baseball players ever to, like, in their times to play for you when they never played before. There was a lot of things he did. It's just, let's stop making a bigger deal out of one decision. And if that one decision sinks him as a USA coach, okay, I get it. But like, let's stop trying to bury him. He still won the games that mattered.
I think that the issue, while the Italy thing was 100% a mess up, right? Even if you write that off, David, and you'll appreciate this as a ball player, like there were anti-ball player moves that he made throughout the course of the tournament, right? Waiting until the knockout stages to start Will Smith behind the dish. And once you do start Will Smith, not ever going back to Cal Raleigh, that was a bit of a head scratcher. The weird usage of Gunnar Henderson, where for the first 2 games of the tournament, it looked like you were going to play Gunnar Henderson every other game. Then in the second game, Gunnar Henderson hits a home run, is the best offensive player on your team, arguably, and then you don't play him again until, the semifinal and a pinch hitting appearance in the final. That was kind of, from my end at least, where my head started to be scratched from the DeRosa thing beyond just the Italy game. It was those, we have guys who are very clearly struggling, and he still wasn't going to do anything about them in the lineup. So as a ball player, wouldn't that make you upset a little bit to see your own teammates struggling and the manager not do anything about it?
I think there's that's a problem. That's a Team USA problem because we have too many superstars that everybody needs to play. We need more role players. We need more USA role baseball players and not just superstars. So it's a Yankee problem, right? This is the old school Yankee problem. Like, what are you going to do? You have to keep playing those guys. You have to. Bobby Witt Jr. needs to be on the field, right. But Gunnar Henderson needs to be on the field. Bregman needs to be on the field, but Schwarber needs to be on the field. Like Judge needs to be on. They have to be on the field because they're such big superstars that you don't have a team. Like Byron Buxton needs to be on the field. You have a collection of players.
You have a collection of players rather than a team.
Yeah.
And you know how that gets solved? You build the team a year in advance because then you figure out who the role players are.
Yeah. And you set a lineup and like not be scared to sit guys. And I think that's a problem too, is like every team is like, all right, well, if Bobby Witt Jr. goes, he has to play every day. Okay, well, Gunnar Henderson goes, he has to play every day. You don't take one of them. Sorry, you don't. Right. And then you find a guy that's a role player behind him and a very good player, but you know what is okay with the team's okay with him not playing every day. That's a problem with doing it also in spring training, is that these guys need to play every day.
Right.
You move that out of spring training, then it's like, all right, well, Gunnar Henderson sits for 3 days. What is the All-Star break?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they lost because they didn't have who's the Yankee? They didn't have Trent Grisham on the roster. So that's why they lost.
Fact. Just like, you know what? Like, that's exactly
they needed Trent
what
Grisham.
Yankees
they needed more Trent Grisham. If they had just made the whole thing Yankees, we would have won.
Look at to an earlier point that David made. Wow, really hot day for David Aardsma. But to an earlier point that David made, look at the last time this team won the tournament, right? The guys who I mentioned, Tyler Clippard was the pitcher, right? For the out that Adam Jones caught off the bat of Manny Machado. Could you tell me where either of those guys played? I could because they're both right down the road.
Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles. But at the same time, Clippard was one of the best closers in baseball at the moment. And
but they were role players. They weren't perennial all-stars. To your point, Tyler Clippard was not Mason Miller. And Adam Jones was not Byron Buxton. That's what it is. And David, it's a very good point. And I think it is something that, we as modern USA sports fans, and there are certain leagues that have a lot of influence in this. We as modern USA sports fans just want to see the best together all the time, no matter how well they fit together or otherwise. And this is the result that you get out of that sometimes. That's a very interesting point. I agree with you. We need more role players.
There you go. All right, David Aardsma. His big, shiny white chiclets.
A little pale.
Every time with the chiclets.
Every time, man, because they are beautiful, and I wish I had big, bright white teeth like that. Always appreciate you, my friend. Be well. Thanks for hanging out with us. Sports Wrap Spotlight and on the TV side of things. We'll catch up with you. We'll catch up with you later.